I think we're all good to go. I'm gonna share my screen. So what we're gonna be doing today, it's the first session in 2026, and I'd like to start with the topic that matters in my view even more than the actual mechanics or tactics around the job search in the international market, which is essentially a strategy and how international careers in 2026. And especially around how senior professionals make their deliberate choices and deliberate moves. Uh, we are going to spend around an hour today, and it's not going to be a long presentation, and I'll leave some time for the Q&A in the end. So, who is this for and isn't? In the essence, it's mainly for the senior project professionals. I'll be relying a lot on my experience and the experience of my clients. I've been working with mainly in the heavy industry and in projects. It's definitely for those who are either working internationally or considering international environments and obviously thinking about direction, not just execution. This is not a session which will help you land a job offer in weeks. So it's not really for the urgent job seekers. And it's not about how to rewrite your CV or how to pass the ATS. So even though we will cover this topic as well. So I hope you all here for the right subject. So let's go ahead. My goal for today for you is to leave with four things. One is a way for you to decide whether you should move or not. I think that's very important and one of the major steps that people typically overlook while making transitions. A clear plan of how you can define your target role and what it is in general. A view of how hiring works right now, what's happening on the market, and what tools and systems you can use. And I'll share a few specific toolkits that I'm using myself. And we're also going to cover a simple system that you can run for yourself to make this transition, ideally without burnout. Job search in the current market takes time, months, for some people, years, and it's important for you and for everyone who is on the search not to start too fast and get through the full segment of the run. Um, I'm gonna start with a statement that's gonna unfold throughout the presentation today, and that's essentially that people and job seekers, especially on the senior level, they do not fail at job search itself. So the real problem is not in how and when or where you can find an opportunities. In many cases that I've seen, and I've been working with clients both in Europe and abroad, the real problem was that people did not have a clear direction of whether they're moving and why they're moving. Some unverified assumptions, meaning that, oh, I'm gonna, I don't know, move to EU because I feel that that's a place for me to be, or I'd like to go to US because I've heard that many great things. And the autopilot decisions is essentially where you chase your next career move or what feels like an obvious choice. You are moving from engineer to engineering manager, then to the PM and project director, because that's how this industry works. You just move across ranks. Why this is personal for me? I started my career 13 years ago in Russia, and I've been working in very small industrial projects. We've been revamping some power plants. But quite quickly, I moved into the international EPC environment, uh, got into the project management roles, and my first international assignment was in United States in 2015. It's difficult to imagine like almost 11 years ago. And then again in 2019. Uh, 2 years ago, we moved to Sweden together with my family. So that was our third major move for work. I've been on both sides of the market. Essentially, I've been working in companies. I had times when I didn't work. So I've seen and I've experienced what candidates feel and how hiring managers work and what they expect from candidates and what they're looking for. I definitely know now that your strong experience in the past does not automatically translate across markets. You may have been working on the largest projects in your country or region, but that does not mean that you'll get a chance or you'll get an opportunity to do this again once you change the country. Big names on your CV and in your profile definitely open doors. If you've been working for Amazon, Google, Shell, ExxonMobil, name it, from your industry, you will definitely get noticed. But just having this big name will not land you an offer. Uh, Hiring decisions are made by people, not systems. And I think that's where I'm going to stop for a while and describe or elaborate a bit more about ATS. And if you've been on LinkedIn for a while, you have seen many posts of job seekers blaming applicant tracking systems, ATS, for not passing through and for being rejected. In reality, it's not how 90% of ITS work. They do not filter based on your CV. And even if your CV is great and you get to the next stage, it's going to be reviewed by a real person. Whether it's an HR, your hiring manager, sort of a grandparent, a person who is the manager of your hiring manager. And those decisions are eventually going to be made by people. So you don't need to obsessively optimize your CV and include all the possible keywords, quantify achievements, even though that's needed up to a certain extent, but that will not bring you across the line. And the last, which I think is very important for people to understand in the long term, you do not control when opportunities appear. You may be sitting in the market where roles appear once every month. Like you may have literally just one role for your profile that appear once a month. What you control is whether you're ready to take this on. And I've seen this a lot when people are sending their CVs, applying for jobs, but they're not getting prepared for the next step. They believe that they need to start getting invites. They need to see if the market reacts before they make the next step. And again, reflecting on my experience, my last offer in Sweden, I got it in 10 days. From the day I applied through 4 interviews, only 10 days passed. And one of the reasons I was able to do that because I was completely ready at that point to discuss my expertise, how I can help the company, and what I expect from the role and from the move. Uh, I also work with international career transitions. That's essentially why I'm doing this session. And typically, where we start with my clients is we clarify direction. Instead of just jumping to the application cycle, we define like what do you really want to get from your next move. And we're gonna unfold this in the next sections, but before you put your plan in place, before you start applying efforts, you really need to understand the direction. If you don't understand one, you may get to the point where you're sitting on an offer that you really like it's a good salary, it's a great company, but it's in a place that you are not willing to relocate to. That happened to me once before I moved to Sweden, and I realized this too late, but luckily I wasn't able to move anyway at that time. So, from understanding of your direction and how the market works, we typically move to the positioning. And this is more around tactics, like what do you need to do in your LinkedIn and your CV to attract interest, and how you do the outreach, the outbound to the potential employers or hiring managers. And the key here is you need to run this as one system. You need to have a constant feedback loop that you do together with a mentor that you have, a friend of yours, or even with yourself just over the weekend. But you need to have a system where you track your actions, what brings the desired outcomes, and how you can repeat more of the things that bring you results. Uh, why am I saying all that? In the past 10 years, I've reviewed uh, an exorbitant number of CVs. I stopped counting at 10,000, but I think it's much more than that now. And I've conducted more than 600 interviews. I've been working across different regions, different project sizes, from a small scale to mega projects, similar to where I'm working now. And on the career side, I've helped more than 40 professionals to move across Europe, Australia, and UAE. Uh, and the five questions that I really suggest everyone to go through before you make a decision, sort of a gate like you have in your project. This is really your career move, your career transition is a project. And the more you treat it like a project with the gates, the more successful you are. The better you control risks, the better the outcome. So those five questions are the following. Do I really need a job? And that's typically something which many people assume by default that if they feel uncomfortable at the current position, it's given that I'm gonna go. I'm gonna jump to another role. Second, why do I need a job? And it's not about bigger projects, more challenging opportunities, better salary. It's about your real drivers behind those reasons that you typically spell out in the interviews or when preparing stories for interviews. What do you need to get a job? And it's not about your CV or interview prep. It's really about experience that you have and the market that you're looking forward to. Who can actually give you a job? And many people focus on companies. I do believe that people is your source. So it's not just about networking. We'll cover this in more details. And finally, how do you make it work? And this is all about tactics. Like, what do you do from step one till you eventually land an offer? What is your weekly routine? How do you work day to day? What is your search channels? How do you network? Who do you need to network with? How you define what do you do in the specific day and period of time. So these are not really steps. The filters that you go through one to another until you eventually reach a decision that yes, I need a job. I understand why I need it. I understand what I need to land the job that I want, my ideal job profile. And I understand people or groups who can help me with that. And I'm following the specific steps. So now we're going to uncover every step of the journey. Uh, and maybe kind of a guiding question to the first one is, do I actually need to move or am I reacting? is that something that just disappointed me so much that I decided I need to move. Three things that you may notice in yourself, or I've seen a lot in others. Most senior careers are momentum driven. Essentially, you move because it's obvious. You finish one project as a project manager, and then you move to a project director role. You finished as a project director, one or two projects, and you then want to go to a VP or a CPO or a technical director. Same logic with the scale. You've done a $5 million project, then you move to a 50, then to 500, and then to 5 billions. This is autopilot. You are not intentionally making a choice because you, in many cases, are overlooking the trade-offs that you need to make of moving from project manager to project director, etc. So up is not always better. And especially in the world we live in now, with the opportunities that every individual has on the market, especially with extensive expertise, you can do consulting, you can create communities, you can create side projects, I don't know, you can start your own YouTube channel and do things there. It's not like it was 20 or 30 years ago when opportunities were limited, and that was the most one of the most secure ways to keep or hold on to a job or to a role in the corporation that will carry you throughout your career. Right now, I would probably argue that having a high-paying job is one of the riskiest things that you may have to kind of earn money and for the long-term stability. Uh, just looking at 2025, if we focus on the oil and gas and downstream, you have seen that many petrochemical companies in Europe, they have shut down their plants, they have done the job cuts, and it's not stopping at the moment. Even the most not advanced, but I would say rich countries or regions in Middle East, in Saudi, NEOM is undergoing through a significant job cuts at the moment, and they're reducing the personnel. And you may go from whatever you have now, next day up to zero. So you need to keep that in mind, and you always need to have plan B in place, whether it's how to find your next career opportunity or what can you do to replace it. Again, maybe the last point a little bit repeats the first one, but many moves happen because people can, not because they should. Like it's expected from you that you've been in a specific role and then a person has disappeared or resigned from the company or moved to a different role and you're just next in line. And you accept this role without intentional thinking because you are not given a chance to do that. What people often misread in the current roles, like, and that applies to me as well. I would often react to significant fatigue after a long project or a sprint where I've been working hard. When I have someone that I'm having difficulty working with and I'm maybe not enjoying doing so, I do not see any promotions coming my way as I've expected. And I may think that it does not excite me any longer. But at the same time, in the same role, we still have real decision authority, right? I can still make decisions that uh, make a difference. I may have flexibility in terms of when I show up to work, uh, what I do during days, when I spend time with my family, etc., etc. And we still have trust from leadership, and that's extremely important for many professionals to be trusted, not to be micromanaged, and to have an opportunity to deliver to the best extent possible. You may have a team that you're actually enjoying working with, and I've personally been very lucky all the way throughout my career. I was either joining the teams that uh, were just fantastic, or I had a chance of building teams uh, around me that I really enjoyed working with and I learned a lot from. Um, so it doesn't mean that you should forget about what worries you at your current role. It just means that you need to put all things on the table and consider that if you are making a move, if you really need to change a job, what you have right now also counts. You need to consider that while looking for alternatives. Uh, One personal example, in 2019, just before the COVID hit, uh, I finished $100 million project as engineering manager. At that time, I was working for Fluor, one of the major EPCMs, and my obvious kind of next step in the company, in the region that I was working in, was to go back and manage a portfolio of smaller projects. And I was not willing to do that. I was already looking for alternative opportunities. I was interviewing, I was talking to other companies, I was exploring options. I was not considering staying. But then, very unexpectedly, or maybe actually expectedly, but I didn't think of that at that time, an opportunity arrived with the client that I've been working with on a previous project. They've offered me a role for a fit scope on a mega project that they would start in United States. So for me, it meant that I would be able to create a team from scratch, international team, coming from three different regions, including the remote execution offices. I would own the budget and schedule. I would own the end-to-end feed delivery, and I would gain another year of US experience, which was very valuable to me at that time. That was not something that other opportunities or other available opportunities would give me at that time. But I have not even thought about asking for whether such opportunities exist within the company. I'm not going to go through the whole list of what we've done during that time and how we spent it, but that's probably was the most steepest or the steepest learning curves in my entire career, both due to COVID and the need to adjust to a remote environment, but also due to the team we've been working with, both on the floor and on the client side. The point is not kind of my experience, the role of the country. The point is that I almost left reacting to the fact that I need to move further. I need to make my next move. And I did not explore options which were available to me. I didn't know that they were. So, ending this part, like, do I really need a job? What I would recommend, just think if your current role can be fixed by you taking a break, going on vacation, finding something that gives you joy or helps you replenish energy. Because we oftentimes believe that changing something will change things for good. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. When you have your current role and job, you know what you're struggling with. Like you know where sort of deficiencies are, and you can work with them. When you are switching, no matter how well you know your future company, how many friends or ex-colleagues are working there, it's going to be a new setup for you. You will have to learn processes, stakeholders, ways of working. And there are many unknowns that you won't be able to project at the moment. So think if you can Fix something at your current place rather than jumping to the new role. Imagine you've decided you want to change your job. Then the next question would be, what are you actually trying to change? What you're solving for? What is it that you need to have in the next place? And many people just go with the title. Okay, I've been a project manager, I want to be a project director. Or I've been an engineer, I want to be a lead engineer. In international environment, as well as in most of the local markets, job titles mean nothing. You can be a project manager, but still just running delivery or coordinating, I don't know, meetings and managing paperwork. You can be responsible for the full project delivery. You can be in charge of the stakeholder management. So look beyond the job title. Uh, what matters instead is for you, what decisions you actually make or you've been making, what problems you enjoy solving, because that will help you find like 80-20 rule, what you enjoy doing more in the new work. And finally, where you add value in the system, why it is important. You cannot just show up and say, oh, I really like what you're doing here. I'd like to be a part of your team. You need to show, and this is already going to tactics, you need to show how you're going to deliver value, why your previous experience is relevant to the new place. You need to find a specific example from your past, ideally a quantified experience that would match a requirement in the new role. And you need to be able to articulate that clearly. So if you rely just on title, you are reducing clarity for yourself. But even before all of that, because that's something that you would probably say in the interview, you need to understand what your real driver is. And it's not really, again, a growth or the challenge, not even the finance. I've heard from people many times, oh, I want to get an international exposure. That is the reason for them to move from a local market to some different place. But in reality, it may be just about moving to this new place. And that changes the dynamics a bit because if you're just looking to get an international experience, you are essentially optimizing for that, but you're not looking beyond the role. You may want to have more free time. You may want to have flexibility with your schedule. You may want to have options from this role to move forward. So think of this as like you are creating a job title for or job description for yourself. So what would you put in? What would you like to do? For me, when I was moving to Sweden, it was really important to have time with the family and spend it in evenings or sometimes even during weekdays. And that's why having an opportunity to work remotely from time to time was one of the deciding factors. Think of that too, and maybe there are more obvious things like uh, some people are so deep into what they do on the project level or work-wise that they don't really recognize how unhappy they are with the actual work that they're doing because it may be providing you for life, you may be having a good title, it may even be a great company that will help you in the future. But if you are not enjoying what you're doing, essentially you're wasting your time, you're wasting your efforts. So think of what is important because I'm 100% sure that if you build this into your job search strategy, you have much higher chances of landing the job and environment that you really enjoy working with. Uh, the drivers that, and those are kind of real uh, quotes that I've heard from clients over the past 3 to 4 months that I've been working with. Uh, and you don't say this out loud to others very often. Because when you are within a team or within an environment, you are expected to hold it, to keep the project moving, to keep the team engaged, and you cannot just say things out loud, even though it may be on your mind. So think of this as kind of your boundary conditions and things that you either want to avoid. You are tired of firefighting, and that can be really spotted or identified during an interview stage or even during a research. You may explore if the company was hiring for the same role in the past. You may ask questions like, how do you make decisions in the company? And if the answer is very vague and people cannot really talk to the point, that may give you some sign. Uh, if you have been nodding to any of those items that were either on the previous screen or right here, this is where you don't need action. You need to sort of hold off for a moment and list out the items that are really important for you. You may be in the great environment in big international company, working on the most advanced and unique projects in the world. But if you're not delivering value, if you do not feel that you're recognized, and you do not understand what you're gonna tell to others few years down the line of what you've done, but you really want to be proud of the things you do, that may be something that you put on the kind of requirements list for your next role. Uh, Next one, and we're getting towards more tactical approach to the job search. What do you really need now in the current market to get a role today, not 5 years ago, because the market has changed. Across Europe, Middle East, Australia, and specifically in US and Canada, it's no longer a candidates market. I'd say interesting positions attract from 100 to 1,000 applications in a single week. I've seen job ads taking 500 applications within a single day in Europe. So there is a significant, or there is a much better choice for companies than it used to be 2 or 3 years ago. Many companies are choosing carefully and slowly, and also along the same lines of projects are not uh, going at the same speed as they were, and the job cuts across many industries, and specifically in the traditional heavy industries. You may see that investment is going down, and both across Europe and Middle East and North Africa. So your strong experience helps, but it will not guarantee you an offer. Uh, at this level, and I'm talking to people really on a weekly basis, uh, you can see that like 8 out of 10 recruiters that are reaching out to you, even if you have an ideal profile for the role, they will not continue because someone was quicker to respond. Uh, Companies are not optimizing for the best candidate. They're optimizing for the right fit in the shortest time possible. They want to have a person who can jump in, who can solve their problems, and who will not quit in the next 6 to 12 months. Uh, Before you can prove how credible you are, how experienced you are in what you do, you need to become visible. And visibility comes with optimizing your presence online or networking. For those who have great networks and who can reach out to people working in the companies of interest, what I'm going to say next is irrelevant. And that's what I think really everyone should be optimizing for, that your next job search or whenever you need uh, to search for a role next time, you are not going to the market, you are not reaching out to recruiters. You can just ask people you know, you've been either working with or you've been maintaining good relationships for opportunities that they have. Because referrals right now, they increase your chance from 10 to 20%, from 10 to 20 times comparing to a regular application without a referral. Uh, So what else you should do or you should understand? Hiring is a long process. Typically, it can be anywhere from 3 to 6 steps. So it's not a single decision. Uh, you need to understand the needs of each stakeholder. Uh, recruiter versus hiring manager versus the owner of the company or the manager of the department or the CEO, they have different needs and they have different views. Uh, if you understand what to deliver in each step, you have much better chances of success than if you just repeat the same storyline about yourself and you're gonna ask or you're gonna answer the same questions. So what you also need to be prepared for is hiring takes time. It's really a long cycle. As I said, on average right now in EU, you are looking at somewhere between 6 to 9 months. Uh, if you're getting offers faster, you're lucky, but I would recommend allocating at least 6 to 9 months for your next transition. Uh, there are very unique cases where you can get an offer in days, but that's again, that's just timing where you can spot a role which is a great fit for you and you're prepared for the whole process, starting from the initial screening call all the way through the offer negotiation. And that's also an important part of the process. So if you don't understand the process, it may feel very random and very frustrating. Uh, I do not read a lot of the posts about that on LinkedIn, but I know that there is a growing frustration from candidates of recruiters ghosting them after applications, people not responding, spending months applying to the roles that may not even exist. I recently came across a post from a person who manually applied to 500 plus roles within a given month. And if you do that, you are going to burn out. That's the fastest way to do this. So please don't take these steps. It's not efficient in the current market. You'd rather focus on networking, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But you do not randomly apply to everything that feels relevant. Be clear and focused from the start. Uh, if you list all of your experience on the CV or on your LinkedIn profile, it may sound impressive, but that will just confuse people who are reading your profile. If you have been working in oil and gas, metals and mining, infrastructure, you've been covering the range of the projects, as I've been just telling you, from $1 million to 6 billions, and you've been running project management, construction, you've been a project manager yourself, and you've been, I don't know, a scale up advisor, it is not clear what you're good in. Like, how am I, being a recruiter, would recommend you to the hiring manager if I don't see your fit? So it really makes very hard for people to place you if you do not focus. Uh, and a lot of candidates I've been working with, been saying, well, this experience is really valuable. I've been working on that project, and that's um, kind of a very important milestone in my career, but that was 10 years ago. I That may sound harsh, but no one cares what you did 10 years ago, unless that was a very specific experience that is super relevant to your current employer. If you've been working on the tokamak 10 years ago and now you're applying to the French ITER project who are working on the fusion energy, then yes, it may be relevant. If that was just one of the projects in the similar industry, forget about that. No one's going to be looking past your past 5 to 7 years. Industries are changing, approaches are changing, so you need to focus on your past achievements and expertise. So research where your profile have more opportunities, both from the region's perspective and industries and also roles. Uh, I know that it's tempting if you are a project manager, go look for project manager roles. But in some cases, you may also explore opportunities in business development, in engineering, in construction. You may look at the options on the client side, on financing. Uh, they're not as straightforward, and you need to highlight an overlapping skills that will make you a relevant fit, but you also have opportunities there. And that's how we are coming to the ideal job profile. That's essentially three questions. What problem you solve best? What type of organizations? And what context and scale? If you're able to answer those questions, and ideally you go to LinkedIn on any other job board and you find 10 or 15 positions that of real interest to you, like you really believe that you can deliver on those, and you can work with ChatGPT or just by yourself, that will also help you to build this ideal job profile for you. The roles where you can deliver the most of the value, and at the same time, the roles that attract you the most. Uh, it's all about making hypotheses, and it does not mean that you need to lock yourself in one hypothesis for the full job search, but I would recommend to stick with one for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Uh, that will help you to get some feedback from the market, how your positioning works within LinkedIn, with recruiters, with people you're reaching out to, with job applications, if you receive any feedback on that. And then if it does not work, take some learnings. Definitely something's gonna work, and apply this again to the next hypothesis. Uh, just to give you an idea, it's not the best approach to start looking in, let's say, Asia, Japan and China, and Middle East and United States for the role of a procurement manager in food and beverages, oil and gas, and logistics. It just You just spend the limited energy and time without getting any tangible results, because every one of those options require you to build networking, reach out to people, and apply for actual jobs. And unless you have a full-time or a full day for applying to jobs, which I don't recommend even if you have time, it's not gonna work. So try to prioritize. If it feels difficult for you, maybe develop a criteria that you can use to select between the options, and then just move through them one by one. Uh, yeah, it's a statement, readiness beats timing, but in essence, what that means is some hiring processes takes months, and you don't control them, but you control whether you're ready or not. So be ready with your profile, be ready with your positioning, and have a story to tell. Don't stop at updating your CV and LinkedIn. Uh, be ready with a clear answer on like what can you tell about yourself in regards to the role, and come up with a few cases that you can speak about regarding your past experience. That may be as easy as just using STAR methodology, like situation, task, action, result. And if you know that well, you can kind of get to a more advanced stage where you can use the same story answering different questions. So what you actually need to get a job. You need to have a realistic view of the market. You need to understand where hiring is happening at the moment and how to get to this people who are making decisions. You need to have external visibility, essentially your profile. And I think right now LinkedIn is the most recommended and maybe the only place that you need to be in. You need to understand the hiring mechanics. How long does it take? How do you interact with recruiters? How you work with external agencies, etc., etc. Clear positioning who you are, and be ready to take the full process onwards. So it's not about you making or doing more. It's about aligning with what you have and how the market actually works now. And it's not that difficult to understand. I think the most difficult part is to sustain the pace. And we're going to talk about that just in a minute. I already said that people can give you a job, people can help you get an offer. And you need to understand which people can help with that. So companies don't hire, people hire. Companies are just sort of containers that hold decision makers. And those individuals, they have, as we've discussed already, different level of authority, different needs, uh, different ideas behind who needs to be hired and why. So just going through a simple framework, when you are talking to a recruiter or HR, their main role is to make sure that you are an adequate person, like you're someone who is okay to work with. You have a minimum fit to the role so that they can recommend you to the hiring manager. Hiring manager, his main goal of hiring you is to get a headache from his shoulders on your shoulders. So in the most simple terms, you need to understand what is his or her biggest challenge right now and how you can solve it. It's not about what's written in the job description. It's important, but if you are in the interview, you need to find out what they're struggling with the most. And sort of the next level, let's say it might be a CEO, he's looking long term, he's looking strategically, whether you're fit for a future development within the company, uh, how good you are with the values that they have or they believe they have, and if you are able to be a team player, you can grow, you can take on things without being asked to do so, and whatever it might be. So he or she would be looking for a more strategic approach to you and if you can support the company long term. Uh, so don't focus on the companies. Don't spend too much time researching what they do, even though it's important. I do really recommend reading the companies' annual reports if those are publicly traded companies or they provide this information. Even the presentation for investors would be sufficient. At least you would know what to ask or what to discuss. But don't stop at that. Explore people. Find out who would be this next person in line who you'd be talking to. That will give you a great advantage during the interview and post-interview. Uh, so these are just various levels or various titles that could be relevant for you. Already covered those. So I think what I also wanted to cover is we talk a lot about the companies, uh, but they're not the only ones looking for people. You most likely have come across recruitment agencies and executive search firms who are working for companies to bring uh, talent to the pool. And those are extremely valuable assets for you, not just for this next specific step, but throughout your career. If you're able to find a handful of recruiters, they may be consultants within companies or individual consultants who are working in your industry and they're hiring your roles, you may get a lifetime advantage of knowing what's happening in the market and potentially having roles waiting for you when you're ready. Uh, I do have a few contacts I'm in a regular contact with. So we meet sort of on a quarterly basis for small coffee chats over Zoom, sometimes in person, depending on the circumstances. But they provide me the insights on the market, and I also, based on my experience talking to people who are in the job search, can provide them some value. So try to find someone, just reach out to them, say that you are X and you're working in this market and you're looking for um, potential roles in the industry and you'd like to discuss opportunities or just introduce yourself. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. You will be ignored many times, but even if you get 1 out of 10 responses, that's much better than zero. So don't ignore networking opportunities. Uh, Recruiters are not all the same. I think it's important to mention. Some are working very broadly. They cover multiple functions. They cover multiple industries. Some are working in a very kind of niche environments. I have a friend of mine. He's working as a consultant, hiring project managers just for renewables projects. He's not working for oil and gas. He's not working for food industry. He's not hiring construction managers. He's just hiring project managers in renewables. Uh, so it's important in general to understand who you're reaching out to, and their role is not to find you a job. Their role to close the position that they have with their client, and it's a dynamic that you as a job seeker need to also be aware of. Their most or their highest interest is to place a candidate to the role which is the most appropriate fit at the moment and do it in the shortest time possible and avoid this position being replaced in the next 6 to 12 months. Otherwise, they will have to find a replacement free of charge. So the caveat here is they may be of great help for you. They may push you through the gates, and they may actually support you in preparation for different stages. But you never know whether you are an A candidate or if you are a plan B. And that's the tricky part. Most of the recruiters that I know of, like professional ones, who've been on the market for quite a while, they at least have two people following the same role. Because if one goes away or decides to decline, they always have a backup plan. So just keep this in mind. Uh, so general, and this is about slightly different subject. You may also get perspective from recruiters on your current role or your current position. So, like general career coaching or CV, LinkedIn services that you can find in many places may help you to understand the process, but they very rarely help you understand your specific market, your specific role, like industry, region, timing, what's happening right now. Uh, a perspective of specialist is much harder to find, but it's often something that helps you to avoid wasted time and get a general awareness of where you'd rather go to right now or what you should stay away from. Uh, if you're working in like projects in the industries like oil and gas, metals and mining, renewables, you can scan this QR code and you can drop me a note in LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to give you kind of a broad perspective of what might be the next step for you or give a perspective around the market. Uh, so this question around people is really about the fact that people are making hiring decisions. It's not systems who are filtering you eventually. It's people who will make a decision whether to hire you or not. Your relevance definitely beats volume. So the more focused you are, the better. Don't rely on mass applications. Map your stakeholders, understand who are making decisions within the company. It takes time. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth the effort. And better questions create better conversations in the sense that don't reach out to people and ask, do you have a role for me? Or do you have any opportunities available for my profile? Instead, go to the company page, to the specific region, find a role that suits you if there is one available, and send a note saying that, hey Jeremy, my name is Vitaly. I'm working as a project manager in EPC projects, and I came across a role XYZ in your company, and I think what you're doing here is exactly what I did there. Who is the best person I can talk to in your company to get more details? Make the life easier for people who you're reaching out to. Don't make them do work for you because they won't. They will just ignore this message. So the easier it is for them to respond, in a better place you are. Uh, how do we make it work? And that is, if you're paying attention, that was supposed to be question number 5, but it's question number 4 here. So how do we run this as a system, not as a sprint? And we are sort of converging, getting closer to the end of today's session. So at senior level, you need to avoid the burnout. Like in 2025, I ran 4 cohorts uh, with total probably around 30 to 40 people who were looking for roles across different regions. And the most difficult part of the job search is time. Like you need to be continuously doing boring things to get a result. And many people quit because they are either starting too quickly or they underestimate the timeline for the job search. So control your schedule. Uh, be consistent and show up. Do things that provide value to you, not just visibility. Don't do things because they just look interesting or you've seen other people do this. focus on what provides real value, even though it may not be visible at the moment. And feedback loop matters as I mentioned in the beginning. Run regular retrospectives, whether you do it by yourself or you have someone you can talk to. It does not really matter as long as you sort of keep notes, document stuff, and you refer to what you've done and what has been working and what's not. So now to this framework, a process for a senior career transition if you have decided that you want to make a move. 7 steps. They're very simple and very short here, but I'm gonna speak to each of them just in a bit more details. So clarify direction and constraints. What does it mean? What are you looking for? What are your priorities? Do you want to move abroad and live there? Do you need to get a work permit and that's your goal? Do you want to be always on site or working in the office, or you need more flexibility? Um, you want to earn more money? Like that will define your potential options. If you're looking to uh, build capital and earn uh, significant money, you probably will not go to the south of Italy. But if you are at the stage of your career when you want to enjoy the time off, you want to enjoy your evenings, you want to go out a lot, then maybe that is a place for you to go. So there are some obvious choices, obvious trade-offs that if you name them properly and in advance, that they will help sort of narrow down the options for you and make it very intentional. In the beginning, define 1 or 2 realistic role hypotheses, as we discussed. What you do the best, what do you like to do, and what sort of companies or scales of the companies are best for you. Position your profile for those roles. Don't stay a very generic project manager. Try to niche within the areas that you're looking forward to. And that applies to the names of your roles, to the achievements or description in your experience that you provide, even the keywords that you use for the search. Map relevant stakeholders that may be as high level as identify 30 companies that are target for you, identify 20 to 30 people within these companies, recruiters, hiring managers, CEOs, start adding them to your contacts in LinkedIn and messaging them, asking for the coffee chats, and gradually building up your network. It's not gonna work from day one. One of the first clients that I had with international job offer, I think that was like 2 or 3 years ago. Uh, she started working with me when her LinkedIn profile was like at 50 connections. And in the first 6 months, she did this boring stuff of just adding people and sending them a very short intro. 6 months down the line, she got an invitation from a recruiter from London about the opportunity in Australia. And this recruiter was the person she added during the first couple months, and she sent out an intro and they had a little chat. So 6 months after the initial uh, discussion, she got an opportunity that eventually brought her to a job offer, and I think she's spending her third year now in Australia. Then start targeted conversations. What that means is out of those 30 companies, 30 people within each company, you do not need to speak to every single person. But you will benefit a lot from talking to the people who are closest to the roles you want to cover. And that's not necessarily going to be your hiring managers or recruiters, that may be your peers that are working at the same level now. Apply deliberately. Don't do mass applications. It's bad for 2 reasons. One, you may apply to the position that is not really relevant for you, but then there will be a different one uh, that is a better fit. And if you apply to this one, in some companies, you may be filtered because of the way how ATS work. So that's actually part where ATS works great. In major companies, you can see how many times person applied to different roles. And in my previous company, I had a candidate who applied like 15 different roles within the same company. So that tells you that either he or she is not caring at all where to work, or they do not know what's the best fit. And last one, prepare for interviews and prepare in general for the process. And as you go through this process, as you kind of hit certain steps, just learn from this and apply what's working. Uh, Tools support the system, not the other way around. So different tools may help you to reduce friction, to start something from scratch that you are struggling to start otherwise. They save you time in routine work, and they essentially protecting your energy from or for your real conversations with others. So I would recommend you a toolkit that I use myself in work with clients. It's essentially the system that follows through all these 7 steps that we've just covered in a 4 different GPTs that you can either get from my LinkedIn page, or again, you can just message me, say GPT Kit, and I'm going to send you the link. That will help you, or that has helped my clients to save on average 30 to 40 hours per month on just doing the updates on the CVs, cover letters, LinkedIn profile updates, etc. Uh, what I don't do in this session or in general while working with clients, I do not sell urgency. I do not believe that it's efficient and it's valuable to say, oh, the train is leaving, you need to jump on, otherwise you won't be able to get your role. Things are changing, industry is evolving and is developing, same as process around hiring. But people always were able to find their roles. Maybe the work patterns have changed and they will change in future, but I do think that everyone can find the right opportunity in the right time. I do not promise fast offers. Sometimes they happen, but a general rule, as I said, look for something between 6 to 9 months. I'm not a fan of optimizing CV or any of the deliverables without a clear direction. So you need to understand what you're looking for first, so that then you can adapt things. So if you're looking for speed, I'm probably not the right person, and that's not the type of content that I'm sharing. If you are looking for clarity, we can talk. And if you'd like to get some perspective, and it helps in some cases. If you have a complex trade-off to make, if you are looking for international move, and that was my specialization in the past few years, if you're looking on how to adjust the senior positioning, because it's not always about what you've done, but how you talk about that, both on your profile and during interviews, or if you're just feeling stuck, even though you're doing all the right things, like Vitaly, you've just said steps 1 to 7, I'm already doing that. Uh, so I hope that if you need something like that, you can just drop me a note. Again, I'm most accessible on LinkedIn. Just tell me the situation, and I may be able to help pressure test and give you a perspective on that. Uh, so, just closing this for today, how to make it work. Treat the process as a system. Do not jump between the steps or across the steps. Follow this through. Pace the effort. Don't try to speed up in the beginning. It's really like a marathon. If you overpace yourself in the beginning, you won't be able to finish. It's not about your timing. You may not be able to finish at all. Uh, Review your work regularly. Uh, don't focus too much on what is not working because things take time. Adjust early in a sense that if you do see that there is literally no feedback, no traction, and uh, it seems to not working, just switch to a different hypothesis and protect your energy. One of my clients messaged me today saying that he just turned off his laptop. That's why he was not responding to my messages for the weekend. And I think that's the right thing to do. If you want to go through this process and you want to make a meaningful change, even if this is a change within your current company. We didn't cover that as much, but you can do a transition within your own company. Uh, you need to be, you need to have capacity because it's almost like a second work to find a new role. So you need to have energy and you need to protect it. That was it for today. Thanks for being here.